Naomi of The Vintage Secret. Thank you very much for inviting us to come and talk about your book.
Thank you for coming all the way to Portsmouth.
So your new book is coming out?
It comes out on the 1st of Feb, next Monday.
You're excited?
Yes. I hope that everyone who buys it enjoys it and gets some use out of it.
So I had a quick look through it and it has got a lot of information, a lot of beautiful pictures.
I sort of feel like I just shook my head and whatever fell out kind of went into that book, and at some point I had to kind of put it in some sort of order. And I think I've actually fairly surprised myself at how much I had to write in terms of tips on buying things, which probably stems from a slight shopping addiction which I've developed since I've got into vintage.
I think that happens to quite a lot of people. So could you talk us through sort of how the book is set out?
Sure. It's set out in two halves. So you, on one half you have 60 years of wearable fashions, and the aim behind that was to pick looks that were very much of their era but without being too cliche. So I didn't really want to have lots of psychedelic dresses and flares and, you know, a huge sort of poofy rah-rah looks.
Yeah.
So it was really finding a balance between a look that is very much of its era, completely wearable, and also fairly timeless in its styling, so that people could recreate those looks today in a contemporary setting.
Okay. So what eras are they ranging from?
It goes from the 1920s up to the 1980s.
Okay.
And then the second part is really just anything that came out of my head that I thought might be useful to someone else. So there's tips on how to look after clothes and how to shop. Also small mini guides to things like swimwear and beachwear and you know, anything that I thought would be useful. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really good, because a lot of people, they might buy a beautiful vintage dress but then have no idea how to sort of keep it in the condition it's been in for the past 60 years or something.
There are ways of preserving clothes,
yeah.
And I think that should be done, because it's it would be a shame if the rise in popularity in vintage clothing meant that in a short space of time a lot of lovely clothing was just destroyed through overuse or people chucking it in the washing machine at 50 degrees.
So what first got you into vintage?
My grandmother, who lives around the corner, had an absolutely unbelievable collection of vintage clothing, and she was very much before her time in realising that it would be a future collectible. And she was doing this really in the 60s and 70s, when everyone else was throwing things away. And it also, I think, stems from the fact that I really don't like feeling dictated to in what I should wear, which I feel mainstream fashion does. And it's also, if you're savvy enough, a lot cheaper.
And I think, yeah, the more educated you are, you know the worth of something, because, I don't know, £100 dress might actually only really be worth £30, or it might be an absolute bargain for £100, but the more sort of research you do on vintage, sort of the better informed you are, and
absolutely
you can decide whether something's worth it.
That's how, you know, you have those amazing moments when you go into a charity shop and you find a dress for £3 that, you know, is worth 100, as you say.
Yeah.
So there's a real fun element, I think, to buying and selling vintage, if that's your thing, or just collecting. I've always seen it as a way of curating your own wardrobe and style.
I think there are a lot of men that want to get into the scene, but there isn't the fairs. There's maybe like 2 stalls of menswear, and there's just not. I think people think there isn't a want for it, but it's because it's sort of not being provided.
I have seen actually a few things pop up recently that for menswear that have been really good. There's Men's File magazine, which is very, very good for men's heritage clothing, so to speak. And also there's a lady in London called Auntie Maureen who specialises just in menswear, and she has an amazing eye, especially for 30s and 40s clothes and accessories.
Okay. I think this shop is Old Hat.
No, that's owned by David Saxby, who's also very good. But Auntie Maureen has the best men's accessories and suits I've seen in a long time. So there are things out there, right, for men. So there's no excuse anymore to look a mess.
The official book launch is going to be at the Rick Rack Club, I hear.
It is.
So could you tell us a bit about what that evening is going to entail?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be our third Rick Rack Club event, which for those who don't know is an evening. Actually, it's pretty much for anyone who wants to come down. We don't have a dress code, and we don't have someone on the door saying, well, you don't look vintage enough. It's essentially for all types of people who don't really want to spend the evening either in an overpriced bar or at some horrendous kind of trendy London venue. So whilst it may come across as being like an event for vintage folk, it kind of is, but it's kind of for everyone, and we get people from all different areas come down, and it's essentially just very good silly fun with a legendary raffle at midnight where you can win anything from an amazing hat to a giant pork pie. So I mean, I think our last one, by 2 a.m, everyone was dancing around to 60s French pop. So there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, I must be very pleased with the Northern Soul DJ.
Sorry?
Very pleased with the Northern Soul DJ.
Oh, they're a staple.
Yeah, that was good.
So yeah, it's going to be our third Rick Rack Club. It's going to be on the 18th of Feb, and I'm going to be giving away books as prizes, and we're going to use it as an opportunity to have a book launch, because all my friends are in the book, and that's something that I'm really proud of.
So what was it like being able to get all your friends involved?
It was interesting logistically at first, trying to figure out who you were going to slot into which decade and who would be the least offended to be the 70s person. I actually originally was going to only have one model per era, and then I realised that wasn't going to work, because I wasn't going to be able to fit everyone in, and I wanted to fit everyone in because I feel like this book is a joint effort actually between a lot of very clever, talented and beautiful people. I know whether it's the models or the hair and makeup people, or the wonderful people who turned up out of the blue with an original flapper dress that fitted, and so many people helped me with this. So I just want to throw a really good party where everyone can come down and have a good time. I think the one thing though that about this book, which I actually only realised whilst writing it, is that the aim is not to dictate to people how they should look, but to accurately, I hope, point them in a direction which they can then mix and match or make their own. I mean, some of the best dressed people I know have an amazing flair for taking bits of different eras and just pulling together an amazing overall look.
Yeah.
Or even mixing a bit of high street and repro, like my friend Faye, who is one of the most immaculately dressed women I know, always surprises us by saying, oh, it's from Topshop, or oh, this is 80s, and it's just that magic of being able to mix things together. Or you can take it literally and, come up with a 50s outfit or a 60s outfit or even a 90s outfit if that's what you want.
Yeah.
So it's got a dual purpose really. It's not just about telling you what to wear, because I hate being told what to wear. So the last thing I want to do is write a book that says this is what you should wear.
I was going to ask you about the vintage sort of shopping outings you do.
For the discerning customer who decides they want to come shopping with me, I'm going to try not to give away too much, but I have, through my years and years and years of shopping for vintage, I have a list of shops, mainly owner run, that I really, really rate and I recommend. And so I take my customers to these shops where I know the owners, where we get, you know, a service second to none, and where I generally also get discounts, which I then pass on to my clients. And I ensure that not only do they come away with an amazing wardrobe of things that fit and make them feel really special, but they also come away with knowledge that they can then use to go shopping. So again, a dual purpose to the day. And you know, it's also meant to be a fun and informative day.
Do you find people book an appointment with you more for a specific, like they want to dress for a specific event, or they want a complete overhaul of their wardrobe?
Absolute 50-50. I've had people who want outfits for Goodwood, for weddings, for special occasions. I've got people who just want to get into vintage. I've got people who want to mix and match.
Yeah, it seems like such a good idea, because I think vintage is so very daunting for many people, because it just seems like something that to get into you already need to know lots.
Yeah,
you really don't.
Well, you're right. You're right. It's quite often trial and error, and people these days maybe don't have the time, you know, to go around searching for things. And hopefully, my guidance monetizes their time, and you know, they come out with things that I know are worth the money, because I'm very much about not saying to someone that £200 dress looks great on you, buy it.
Yeah.
I think I always try and cap expenditure at around the £80 mark or below, unless it's something really, really amazing.
Yeah.
I would say really what I do is help people find the clothes that make them feel special.
So what personally is your favourite era to style? So either sort of for when you're writing the book, or just for every day?
I honestly don't have one. I think when I started getting into vintage, I really, really liked the 50s when I was younger. And then as I got a bit older, I really, really liked 30s clothes. But now, I can genuinely say I like them all. I even like the 80s. But I only like really good examples of each era. I also strangely admire really bad examples of each era. I like, you know, looking at the way design has evolved. I mean, today I'm wearing, you know, an Edwardian blouse with a pair of 80s pencil trousers. I just like making my own look with what I fancy. And then there's other times when, you know, you go to a specific event, and I do like just wearing 40s or 50s or 30s clothes. It's that is the beauty of vintage. It gives you choice.
Yes. No, yeah, because you've got, rather than having to dress sort of within 6 months, you have like a 6-month window of having to wear something specific. You've got like 60, 70 years
exactly
to choose from.
And you know, the investment that you put into vintage, you know, it retains that value. It doesn't depreciate, because you're not buying into a trend. And what I really do not like about the price to quality ratio of high street clothes is you are paying, the premium you pay is to have it first. And I think it's not a very healthy way to encourage impressionable young people or people of any age to dress.
Are there particular eras that certain body shapes should either sort of gravitate towards or steer away from?
Well, this is actually something I've been talking about with my friends recently, and when I was making the book, I was actually asked to put in a guide to what era suits what shape, and I would actually say now that there isn't an era that suits a certain shape, because I know a lot of people are going to think, well, if you're curvy, the 50s are good, and you know, if you've got a slightly more athletic figure, then you're looking at something 20s or 30s. But you know, women's shapes didn't morph with fashion. They've actually always been the same. It's just a question of undergarments and a question of a cut fitting your body. So if you look at the clothes, the earlier clothes that were often bespoke, you know, I've seen 30s and 20s dresses cut for curvy girls, just as I've seen 50s dresses cut for girls with a more athletic figure.
Yeah.
So my stance is there isn't an era that suits the figure better than one. I think that is a stereotype of vintage.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us about your book, and I'm so looking forward to reading it properly.
Pleasure.
And I suppose the next time we'll see you is at the Red Crack Club.
Absolutely, yeah, I can't wait. Thank you so much for coming.
That's right.